built in the system, right? So you can't point to black person X. Well, look at that black person. They have a good job. They have a good career. When someone says that, I know automatically they don't know what they're talking about. And they're probably racist at the end of the day. Because a good job and a high paying salary alone is not an indicator of success. Because jobs are fleeting. So if you have no control over that job and that job decides to downsize you, what does ever having that good job serve you going into the future? Right? So here we go. Intergenerational instability. Limited wealth transfers force black families to rely on debt for milestones like education, perpetuating cycles of financial insecurity. We're not even talking about the predatory credit card that are given to students. That's light work. Because I know when I was in school, they would give you like $100, which was a lot of money. So I don't know what they're giving these kids today, but either way, they're not giving them like $20,000 credit lines, right? We're talking about where they do get $20,000 credit lines is with those student loans. So again, as I stated before, you graduate at 22, the payment terms for the student loans, you'll be 42. After 20 years of payments, a whole different person, right? Regretting that you even took out the student loan in the first place, because 35-year-old you and 22-year-old you, or 18-year-old you when you first took out the loan, are two different people. You've grown and evolved into an entirely different person. And in a lot of cases, black people are graduating in fields that they never actually end up working in. Right? So they end up working in a field that requires a bachelor's degree, but not necessarily a bachelor's degree, and a degree in a field that you actually got a degree in. So people are taking out these loans and pretty much staying on the hamster wheel just to pay off these loans, right? Just to be able to live another day so you don't have bad credit or go into default. Just so you can try to get a loan, build a house, have credit good enough to have a loan to buy a house, have a loan to buy a car, have a loan to be able to get married, have a loan to be able to have children. Your whole life is borrowed. And this is not a euphemism when people actually say that slavery is still in effect. This is a new way of people being required to work to pay off the loans. If I give you a loan, this guarantees that you will give labor. Because as long as you have this debt, you must work to pay off the debt. You just can't not work. And then you just make the mechanisms within the system, you turn up the dial to make sure you're never out of the loop. So you must work. You must get up. You must stay at work, right? Half the time I know black people, like, they're not morning people. For the most part, don't even understand why they have to get up and go to work most of the time. Sometimes you go to these jobs, you gotta leave black people alone until lunchtime. Because they ain't feeling this shit at all. Don't even understand why. Because you have to stay on the hamster wheel to pay off these loans. That's slavery. You're being forced to work. Well, that's an individual decision to do so. Well, if you told me I have to go and have this education, and the only way I could afford to go to State U was take out this loan because I couldn't afford it any other way, and now I have to work to pay off those loans. Oh, you shouldn't have gone to school. They told me to do it. That's the only thing I was supposed to do. I was 18, right? So most people did that. And now they incurred 6 figures, 5 figures in loans, and they're stuck on the hamster wheel. And black educated people are some of the most miserable at the workplace because of this and don't even know. We need psychological evaluations. Can't even understand why we hate life most of the time. Cranky as hell. Black children of middle class parents are less likely to remain middle class as adults compared to white children. That's a big one, too. So you have one generation, black middle class, right? 2 parent household, car in the garage, dog, white picket fence. I said mom and dad, everyone smiling, great Christmases, great Thanksgivings, prom, all the good stuff. But they're saying that generation that grew up in that house, the children that grew up in that house, are less likely to remain in the middle class, right? So we see that a lot with the generation that's older than 60. You know, you had those that could do that, but then when it came to my generation and younger generations, they didn't stay in that situation. Maybe one or two of the children, but you kind of everybody else out of the cousins and the other brothers and sisters, it's kind of a hodgepodge, right? You got one who's a drug addict, one who's a single parent, one who's gay, one who's, did I say drugs? Drugs. Just this hodgepodge of, they make comedy parodies of it now, right? We got the cousin that's this, the cousin that's that, the cousin that's this. You don't have a homogenous generation, right? You just have a hodgepodge of things. One or two are successful, but Big Mama, and Pop Pop, grandfather and grandmother, they don't have, they're not repeating what the previous generations had. Stability for the most part. So again, black children of black middle income parents are less likely to remain middle class as adults compared to white children. So in that case also, we saw and one thing that I saw on a personal level in in a place like Baltimore, right? When I moved to Baltimore, now I thought in New York City I had seen some drug addiction. My father was drug addicted. I thought I saw that, but I didn't see it. I thought I saw it. When I got to Baltimore, I was like, oh, I ain't seen nothing. So I had a few friends, right, that were people that got high, or had friends who had relatives of people that got high. I'm talking about high, bad high. I'm talking about crack, heroin, lived on the streets, smelled bad, looked bad, skin bad. High, that high. Not casual, but high, right? And then you look at some of these people and you're like, these people came from good homes, middle class homes. Their parents owned nice, clean houses, good, upstanding citizens. Even a majority of these people that were getting high in Baltimore came from good homes. You're like, how did this happen? I lived in Park Heights, Baltimore, and I remember there was this lady that lived on the block. She was a lady who was drunk all the time. Her name was Sassy. And that sister Sassy, but she was very polite. Like, she would always greet respectfully, but she was always drunk. So I didn't have a problem with Sassy. So, I actually, I respected the fact that she was so respectful. But Sassy ended up dying. And I looked up Sassy's obituary. Sassy had graduated from Georgetown University. This is exactly exemplary of black middle class Black children of middle class parents are less likely to remain middle class as adults compared to white children. Now, the crux in all of this is that people will come in and say, well, that's your fault. That's fine. You can say that. And there's a little bit of truth into that. But at the end of the day, when you constantly have to fight against systemic barriers, how much fight will you have left with it inside of you? Right? When, okay, if it's for an immigrant family to come to America, all they have to do is work hard, work hard, work hard. That's the thing that's rammed down our throats with regard to people. Those people have no credit debt, right? Literally, all they have to do is work hard. No one is going to put any tripwires in their way to discourage them from continuing to work hard and achieving and pursuing. But yet, Black people have all of these things, and matter of fact, most of them are inheriting debt at this point from their parents, from their grandparents, constant tripwires. So you have to do double and triple the amount of work. Like the things that I personally had to do just to be able to save money will make your head spin. There were days I would have to have 2 and 3 jobs. Literally, I had to sacrifice having a family and children. Well, that's what you should do. Then why should I do that if everyone else gets to have what they want when they want it? And all they have to do is work hard, right? Why do I have to have 2 and 3 jobs and then have additional sacrifices to make on top of that? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? But I did it anyway. Still had to jump through hoops, right? Some days just, okay, I'm going to eat rice and beans, right? I'm going to cook it, put it away, and not eat out. But I don't see everybody else doing that. Why do I have to do that? So I always say that Black people in America pay a premium for basic services, and everyone else gets premium services for a basic price. Let me say that again. Black people in America pay premium price for basic services, while everybody else pays basic price for premium services. They get to have families. Yeah, they work hard, but they get to have families. They get to enjoy a human life as decent people. But here we are. We get constant tripwires placed in front of us. And if you saw my last video with regard to the JFK files, let's talk about CIA intelligence, right? I'm not going to get that deep on this call. We're going to keep it on the economic scale of everyday lives of Black people. And we've been sold a bad bill of goods, but we're talking about on a domestic policy level coming from the White House. Like, Black people must really understand this. And this is, again, let's go back to the slideshow here. The Black Gen X, here are the images that they sold you. And I really hope one day, we don't have enough scholars like Wesley Muhammad, like Dr. Wesley Muhammad, like Dr. Jared Ball, that really dig into the lives of Black people in the interests of Black people. Most of the Black scholars, they work for these corporations, and they don't do any research to give us the nitty-gritty details on what's really going on with us, right? So we end up with a lot of charlatans because no one is doing the real scholarly academic work to let us know what's really going on, to run the numbers, right? And I hope one day we really find out what was behind all of this that we were sold. Because what we see today, 40 and 30 and 50 years later, is not applicable to us in 2025. What happened to these people? Where's the promise that we got from these pictures here?